All right, and we are live, or we should be here. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear in the chat, guys. What's going on? We got a 3-gamer tonight. Nothing too crazy, but as always, there's always an edge to be had. So we're gonna do a little bit of a game-by-game breakdown. I'll be answering any questions you guys have. A little bit of some strategy and game theory talk going on. As always, the smaller the slate, the more sneaky we kind of have to get if at all possible, because it's going to be a lot harder to differentiate yourself than if you're on like a 9 or a 10 game slate or something like that. But that's what I'm here for. So we're going to talk about it all, break it down, do a little bit of a game by game here on DraftKings and FanDuel. Both of these sites I will be covering. So certainly ask any questions that you have regarding either. So yeah, we'll do a little bit of a game by game here. We're waiting on a little bit of injury news that could certainly change the slate. For the time being, Milwaukee at Philadelphia, we have confirmation that there is no Joel Embiid, there is no Tobias Harris, there is no Ben Simmons, there is no Chris Middleton, and Seth Curry is listed as questionable. So that could open up some even more usage. And we just got a confirmation on that. Seth Curry is out. So right off the bat, yeah, Curry is out. So that's going to open up even more usage here. Tap My Life says, sorry I'm late. You're not late at all. We just started this thing. 6:30. We just started this thing. 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So don't worry about it, man. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, Seth Curry is out. That's certainly going to open up some usage, even more usage on the Philadelphia side of things. And a team that we saw, the one thing I wanted to bring to your attention right away in this live stream, and this is just going to open up even more usage, is if we look at the 76ers rotation from the last game when Joel Embiid was out, they played practically a 7-man rotation. They played Paul Reed 5 minutes. Now you're going to take out Seth Curry from that equation. That means that all these guys are going to be loaded up with a bunch of minutes and a bunch of usage. So we're certainly going to have a lot of interest in the 76ers guys, because the fact of the matter is they're very shorthanded. There should be plenty of minutes to go around and plenty of usage. So now we just got confirmation that there's no Seth Curry. So it's going to be crazy, the guys that are in this rotation. Andre Drummond, of course, at 7-7, going to be a tremendous play. The thing that I'm intrigued to see now is if this line shifts even more. It was a 6-point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now there's no Seth Curry. I wouldn't be surprised to see that line shift even more. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. And the only concern really will be whether this game stays close. But the fact of the matter is, on the 76ers side, it's a far less concern than it is on the Milwaukee side. Like, if you're concerned about a blowout on this one, just could probably still load up on the Philadelphia guys, especially the cheap guys. Feel pretty good about it and not have to worry about the blowout consequences, because if anything, Milwaukee's going to have to be going to their bench if they're in a blowout, because the Sixers really don't have much other option than just play their guys a bunch of minutes. Because, yeah. So I would certainly be upgrading my projections. For those of you that have my premium content, you can go ahead and check it out. If you don't, over here on Patreon, you get access to my premium projections, NBA data sheet, player stats, team stats, play context stats, core plays, injury impact insights, and my NBA Discord chat access. You can ask me questions all the way up until lock if you're interested in that. And I'll be touching on some of my top plays, obviously, throughout the stream as well. Talking to you guys about who I'm locking in on. But it's going to be really hard not to have a bunch of interest in a Tyrese Maxey now on the 76ers side. He should get a bunch of usage. Going to be really difficult not to have a ton of interest in Shake Milton at 5.2 on DraftKings. He's way too cheap. Furkan Korkmaz and Georges Niang are going to be great options as well, alongside Danny Green. These guys are going to play a ton of minutes. And then looking at my defensive transition and half court and putbacks tool over here as far as their matchup overall, I will say Milwaukee hasn't exactly been the strongest defensive team to start the season out here. They rank 17th overall in points per possession. Really not worried about them too much on the defensive end of things. And then when you look at the transition stats, they are allowing a decent amount in transition as well. Milwaukee, a team that's traditionally pretty good at defense, so I do like the Philadelphia guys. I think it's pretty obvious to say that you're going to like them, because this is what we look for in daily fantasy sports. You want solidified minutes. solidified upside, and they are definitely going to supply that. Matisse Thybulle continues to be out as well, something that to take note of that people may not remember. Paul Reed only played 5 minutes last time out. I have a feeling that he's going to be the one that gets the biggest bump here in minutes with there being no Seth Curry, because they're probably going to want to keep their rotation pretty tight. But if you're playing in tournaments and you want to get different, one of the best ways to do it might be to take a dart throw on one of these Sixers guys that might get some minutes that hasn't been getting minutes at all. Now, I mean, your guess is just as good as mine. We have Jaden Springer, Aaron Henry, and Charles Bassey. If you're playing in a large field tournament, it's only a 3-game slate. Maybe one of those guys works their way into the rotation with there being no Seth Curry. Which one it is, I don't know. I follow a bunch of different beat writers on Twitter, so I'll certainly be keeping an eye on that one. If you're in the Discord chat in the premium KJK DFS group, I can certainly send that in to you guys as we are keeping an eye on that news, because that might be something that could maybe differentiate you from the rest of the field on this 3-game slate. There's no Seth Curry now. Maybe we see one of those guys step into the rotation. Maybe not. We know it's going to be probably Paul Reed, Shake Milton, Georges Niang, Furkan Korkmaz, Danny Green, the usual candidates. But maybe a Springer, a Henry, or a Bassey works their way into the rotation. Then that can make you a little bit different in your tournaments. On the Milwaukee side of things, we talked a lot about Philly there, but for good reason, because they're going to be a priority for us. And then on the Milwaukee side of things, looking at their rotation upside, up and down, we have Chris Middleton continuing to be out. There's no Brook Lopez as well, so that means it's going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo and Drew Holiday who are going to really dominate most of the usage in this offense. Particularly Giannis, obviously, it's just really a matter of this game stays close, though, because he's priced way up to 11-4, as he should be. But if the game turns into a blowout, then that's obviously going to impact him quite a bit as far as his upside is concerned. So I would say that's really the only thing that's holding back Giannis from having a big game here is the blowout. But I certainly do think that it's a viable concern. Now there's no Seth Curry. Philly just continues to get less and less deep in their bench. They might have a hard time keeping up with this Milwaukee squad. So that's something to maybe factor into your lineups. And if that's the case, one guy that can certainly get there, even if it does turn into a blowout, is going to be Drew Holiday. Because Drew Holiday continues to be underpriced for his role. He has been a little bit rusty working his way back from injury in this one. After, being on the injured list. So that could be something that you can maybe factor in a little bit as well. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be him, Giannis Antetokounmpo, as the main candidates for heavy usage in this offense. And I certainly have a lot of interest in Drew Holiday looking at my sheet. And the next guy I want to talk about that's really cheap, that should get a bunch of usage as well, though, is going to be Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis, only 5'4". Looking at his recent minutes, they continue to climb. He's been working his way back from injury. He played 22, 24 last time. He got all the way up to 31 minutes. If you're new to playing NBA DFS, you may not know, Bobby Portis is an absolute fantasy point per minute beast. He always has been. Looking at the season so far, he's putting up 1.1 DK points per minute on a per minute basis, which is very, very good, especially when you're factoring in that his price tag is only 5'4". That's certainly going to get the job done for you. I've got him projected right now for that same allotted amount of minutes of 31 minutes. So I'm certainly going to be having a lot of interest in Bobby Portis in this one. And even if the game turns into a blowout, I think Bobby Portis is kind of blowout proof as well. So that's everything lining up for Bobby Portis. Certainly have a bunch of interest in him tonight. And yeah, that's my main candidates on the Milwaukee side. Grayson Allen, you could certainly play. You could play Pat Connaughton. You could play Jordan Nwora. Grayson Allen continues to get the job done as well, playing a lot of minutes, 31, 34 minutes. He put up 38 and 32 DraftKings points, a very good three-point shooter when he does get hot. Had a few rough shooting games in the early going, but the last couple times out, he's gone 3 for 8, 6 for 9. He's been able to put up 38 and 32 DraftKings points. And let's be honest, Grayson Allen has a pretty good reputation as a shooter, so I don't think it's going to be too often he struggles on the field. Same can be said from Pat Connaughton. And both these guys, once again, a little bit on the cheaper side, so you're not paying up for a Giannis if the game turns into a blowout. That's usually how I will treat these games. If I do think it's going to turn into a blowout, if you don't think so, certainly play Giannis. If you do, just go ahead with the cheap value. They can all certainly get there if their team's scoring a bunch of points. There's a good chance that the cheaper guys are contributing a decent amount, enough to where they can get there because they've been putting up enough points to turn into a blowout, unless it's all going through Giannis, and he's not going to get there either. So I really just doubt that's going to be the case. So typically I'll go with that cheap value if I'm playing that way. But in general, yeah, certainly do. I like those guys. The minutes should be freed up. Another guy is Thanasis Antetokounmpo as well, only down at 3-2, but he's seeing his minutes kind of decline a little bit, so kind of stick to the core. So yeah, we spent quite a bit of time on that game, but it's only a 3-game slate, so there's one. Atlanta taking on Utah, second game on the slate. We certainly have some big Atlanta news here. Bogdanovich and Mr. DeAndre Hunter, both listed as questionable. If these guys are out, that's going to open up some major usage, some major value on this slate, because we're going to have to be able to go down to the likes of a Cam Reddish, a Kevin Huerter, and a Danilo Gallinari, all of which priced very cheap in the mid to upper 3K range. Reddish, Huerter, and Gallinari would be all tremendous plays. They don't get the greatest matchup taking on Utah. As a matter of fact, it's a very bad matchup. Utah's defense is phenomenal. Looking at my defensive half-court and transition stats on the season so far, Utah ranks 7th overall in points allowed per possession rank. 4th in half-court's point per play rank, though. And then when you're looking to transition as far as how they've been doing on the season so far, they actually are allowing quite a bit of points in transition. So that seems to be their one weakness. 26th in the league in points per possession rank in transition plays. So if Atlanta is able to push the ball, push the pace a little bit, that may be the one way they're able to get to Utah. But if you're trying to take them down in the half court, post up guys, that kind of thing, not going to work out too well with you. They have a great rim protector in Rudy Gobert. Oftentimes, the defensive player of the year, and he's going to continue to be, just does a great job of dominating around the rim, not allowing any easy shots to be taken. And you're not going to have an easy time when you're driving to the bucket against Utah. So we do prefer to target guys that can shoot from behind the arc, guys that can pull up from the mid-range, that stuff that aren't just strictly reliant on being a slasher, because it's not going to be the easiest taking on this Utah team. So, yeah. Certainly some big news on the Atlanta side. Like I said, those three-point shooters, Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, both can shoot the three ball. So I think that they're going to be those candidates that I was just talking about that we'd want to be targeting from the outside. And the fact of the matter is they're too cheap. Danilo Gallinari, same can be said for him. He does play a little bit more in the down low post area, unfortunately, but these guys are just going to be too cheap. It's a tough matchup. We don't like targeting Utah, but when you're targeting guys in the mid 3K range, if there is no DeAndre Hunter or Bogdanovich, especially if they're both out, those guys just become automatic lock and load plays for me. To be able to fit in some studs if you want to play some studs. If you want to go with more of a balanced build, I'd understand that too. But yeah, that's kind of certainly something I'll be looking at early on. Patrick says, let's hit the like button. Yes, sir. Thank you, Patrick. Let's hit that like button. We got 5 likes so far. I've been trying to get 20 plus likes on every live stream. Just started doing these about a week ago. I think we've had a solid 6 or 7 live streams at this point. Certainly people seem to be enjoying them. So if you are enjoying them, if you could take a second to leave that like, that would be greatly appreciated. It's going to help me out tremendously with my content. I'll be here all season long breaking down these slates, help you guys become better NBA DFS players, help you guys win some money night in and night out. And, yeah, so I certainly appreciate anyone that shows support. Hitting that subscribe button and that like button. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Curry's out. Yep, we talked about that a little bit. Sounds like everyone can hear me nice and clear. Do we still play Drummond regardless of high ownership? Patrick asked. Yeah, that's a good question. He's certainly probably going to have a bunch of high ownership. And the fact of the matter is, he's still going to get a bunch of minutes. But his price tag did come up quite a bit at 7-7. So if you want to fade him to get different, it's only a 3-game slate. I don't hate it. It's certainly a risky move, but it's a risk that could pay off for you in your tournaments. You got to get different in some form or another. So Andre Drummond fading him, yeah, you could certainly do that. I wouldn't say it's the craziest move in the world. It's definitely contrarian, which is what we have to be in tournaments. On FanDuel specifically, it's a little bit more difficult to be doing it. He's a little bit cheaper priced, and you get 3 points for every block and steal on FanDuel. I talk about it a lot. I don't know if other content creators talk about it when you watch their content, but like to me, the big differentiator on FanDuel compared to DraftKings that you can really take advantage of is if you target guys that get a bunch of blocks and steals. For my Patreon members over here on my sheet, make sure you go to my advanced player metrics tab. You can actually sort around the league for top blocks and steals players based on a percentage rate of how many steals and blocks they get compared to the rest of their team. So like from a total team aspect, you can see how often they're blocking and assist. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, I have all sorts of stuff in here. Assist percentage, total rebounds percentage, steals, all that fun stuff. So Andre Drummond hasn't been getting the most amount of minutes in the world. So I have a feeling pulling up my sheet here, he's probably not going to lead too many categories. Yeah, and he's not really popping for me, but I have a feeling that's just because he's had limited minutes. Top guy on the steals category. No, let's go ahead and do here. I'll give you guys the number one guy in blocks percentage on the season so far. You'd be surprised when he's on the floor is Derrick Jones Jr. 9.94% of the overall blocks when he's on the floor. Second on the list as far as the top guy in blocks that actually gets a bunch of minutes would be Miles Turner. I know Miles Turner's not on this slate, but that's a perfect example of a guy that I'd be willing to play a lot more on FanDuel because, I mean, Miles Turner, the amount of blocks he gets, that's 3 points for every block. I mean, that's very significant in your fantasy scoring. If Miles Turner goes out there and gets you 5 blocks, that's a very quick 15 FanDuel points. So that's something I'm always looking to keep an eye on FanDuel. And something that I certainly will reiterate of importance to you if you are a guy that does play over there on FanDuel. If you play on DraftKings, it's a lot more reliant on things like scoring, overall rebounds. There's a triple-double bonus. The scoring formats are just completely different. So it's important to understand the scoring format of the site that you play on. Over here on DraftKings, you get that half-point bonus for every made three-point shot. Rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and then you get the double-double bonus for the big men. Oftentimes, you want to make sure that you're getting those 10 rebounds, 10 points. And then for the really upside, top upside guys, you get the triple-double bonus, the plus 3 points. So don't underestimate the power of the scoring on your website. It can differentiate you from the field, people that don't really know the difference. So anyways, yeah, the other thing, if Bogdanovich and DeAndre Hunter are out on the Atlanta side of things, is that's just going to make this even more of the Trae Young show, in my opinion. So Trae Young, I put him on the thumbnail for that reason. If we do get confirmation that both of those guys are out, a guy in Trae Young who already has a tremendous amount of usage is just going to become even more of a usage beast, and I would certainly have a bunch of interest in Mr. Trae Young. The more guys that are out, the more usage that he should get. And speaking of usage, the number one guy in the league as far as usage percentage on the season is in this game with a 36.37 usage percentage, and that is Mr. Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell has been really dominating in his offense. He's 9-1 on DraftKings. He's put up 58 and 52 DraftKings points in the last 3 games. 39.75 is lowest. And certainly will have a bunch of interest in him going forward if this game can stay close. Another game, we might be a little bit worried about the spread here. Does come in with an 8-point spread. If we do get confirmation that those guys in the rotation are going to miss, could possibly turn into a blowout. But once again, those guys on the cheaper end on the Atlanta side, certainly going to have interest in. And on the Utah side, as far as guys you'd be looking to if this game does turn into a blowout, certainly would want to keep it to the cheaper guys as well. You have Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, Mike Conley. There's a far more likelihood that they get to the price tag if this game blows out than it is that Donovan Mitchell does all the way up at 9-1. So it's kind of what you want to be thinking about in the back of your head when you're strategizing for your lineups. And the Utah side certainly much more healthier than the Atlanta side if some of these guys miss. So it's just the fact of the matter is, why would you want to target a team that's fully healthy where all the usage is going to be dispersed when we have a team like the Philadelphia 76ers where we know all the usage is going, we know where all the minutes are going. It's very easy to tell where the upside could be funneled to in that spot. And the same for Atlanta if we find out these couple guys are out as well. So that's going to be something that I'll definitely be emphasizing in my lineups and that I would recommend to you guys. Definitely be targeting the teams that are shorthanded. It's going to open up some more usage and open up some more upside for the guys that are be filling in for the injured players that are typically the starters and getting minutes in the rotation. I mean, a guy like a Seth Curry, he's been playing like 40 minutes a game. He's been playing lots of minutes, so those minutes have to go somewhere. 41 minutes last time, 33 minutes, 37 minutes. All those minutes are going to be funneled to other players in the 76ers, so very easy to have a lot of interest in them and very smart too as well. You know, that's kind of what's going to get you there in your tournament lineups. Last game on the slate, we have Portland taking on the LA Clippers. If we have any more questions in the chat, I'd like to address them. Let's see. I like Nurkic tonight, Patrick says. Yeah, we'll get into that. Nurkic, certainly very good fantasy point producer. If anything with Nurkic, it's just been that he hasn't quite seen too much of a minutes ceiling. I mean, I wouldn't be too high on Nurkic, to be honest with you, Patrick. The guy's played like mid-20s minutes max, and he could certainly get you there. And maybe that keeps his ownership a little bit lower, but like he's 7'4", and then when you look at some of the other options at the center position that are similar to price tag, like we talked about, an Andre Drummond or a Clint Capella even at 7-1. Clint Capella doesn't get the best matchup taking on Rudy Gobert, but you can make the argument they certainly need him out on the floor to be able to match up with him, so he should get lots of minutes. He's only 7-1, and then Andre Drummond filling in at 7-7. He played 38 minutes last game, so I'd much rather play an Andre Drummond at 38 minutes. I know we discussed possibly fading him if he gets a foul trouble or if the game blows out or something, but Nurkic's minutes upside are just a little too capped for me. Like, I'd rather go down to a Bobby Portis at 5-4. We just talked about him playing 30 minutes last game, and he's really cheap. So I'm not too sure that I'd be targeting Nurkic. Certainly a contrarian play though. Like, if you want to play, if your strategy is that his lowered minutes are going to keep his ownership low, then I fully support the play. But as far as like an overall vantage point, I'm not too high on him. It's just kind of a unique play if their ownership's going to be high. So, but anyways, further along in this Portland LA Clippers game, so we have Paul George on the Clippers side. He comes in at 10-5. This game right now, as far as the Vegas total, is it comes in with a 221 over/under with a 3-point spread in favor of the Los Angeles Clippers. So this game would be by far the closest game on the slate as far as spread's concerned, and the one that I'm least concerned about blowing out. So that's obviously a big factor. And I think the usage is very obvious as to where it's going to go. The LA Clippers continue to be out with Kawhi Leonard. That's going to funnel a ton of usage to Paul George. He currently ranks 4th in the league overall as far as his usage percentage. I think he's going to continue to beast and feast while there is no Kawhi Leonard. And I'm not scared about this Portland defense whatsoever slowing him down. So everything's kind of matching up for me for Paul George tonight. I certainly think that he's going to be a priority for me. You can make an argument that I'd much rather go to Paul George than Giannis Antetokounmpo just because I'm not as worried about the blowout. And also, when you look at the pace of these games, this one comes with a 221, the other one a 216. Do expect this game to play a little bit quicker. Do expect it to stay tight, and for all those reasons, certainly like Paul George quite a bit. And then when you look at my defensive sheet over here as far as how Portland's fared on the season, they're 16th overall in points per possession rank, 25th in the half-court points per play rank as far as how they rank out over here in the defense in transition. Have been a lot better, so allowing quite a bit of points in the half-court, not as much in transition. But I just think that Paul George's usage is going to be so high, and I think his ceiling is going to be so high, and I think this game stays close. So, honestly, Paul George might be my favorite play on the slate for all those reasons. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum are going to continue to split their usage. Damian Lillard traditionally gets off to a pretty slow start over the years. I say it a lot, but it's just the truth. Oftentimes, he'll get off to a very slow start. I've been seeing stuff all over Twitter. Everyone's saying Damian Lillard was washed, and people are saying, like, people that are serious about that are just not smart, in my opinion. So I don't agree with that at all. I don't think Damian Lillard's washed at all. This is just how he rolls. I mean, some players are like that. It's kind of weird a guy this talented can't get off to a hot start eventually, but it just is what it is. So I don't think Damian Lillard's washed at all. It's just kind of him doing his thing, a slow start. So with that being said, I do think we should be factoring that in and leaning more towards CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum would be my top play on the Portland side of things. He continues to see his price tag dip as well. He was all the way up to 8-1, 7-9 the last few times out. He's all the way down to 7-2 now. Going to make it much easier for me to click that CJ McCollum button. They're just making it that much easier on you. Very good shooter from behind the arc. The only reason he had a bad game last time out was because he had a terrible shooting night. He went 1 for 10 from behind the arc, but that's going to be very rare, few and far between when it comes to CJ McCollum, so I wouldn't worry about that whatsoever. He's going to be my favorite play from the upside aspect on the Portland side of things. Then when you go down the list on the Clippers, you do have Nicholas Batum. On the Portland side of things, you do have Norman Powell, who continues to be underpriced on DraftKings at only 5.2. Certainly going to have a lot of interest in him. DraftKings just refusing to price him up. Grades out as a great play for sure. CJ McCollum, Norman Powell, both grading out as great plays in the mid-range. So yeah, certainly going to like those guys quite a bit. Trey is so expensive on FanDuel. I think I'm going Mitchell and Lillard, Tap My Life says. Yeah. Let's take a look over at FanDuel so we can clarify some of that stuff. Let's see. Trae Young, 9.5. Mitchell, Lillard. As far as what I would give you for advice, I don't know if you're playing in tournaments or cash games, but right now, based upon my projection model and who I like over on FanDuel, I would certainly go with Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard, yeah, over Mr. Trae Young. Yep, so I agree with that take. Based on where I got them projected right now, Trae Young is priced up a little bit too much for his respective role. However, with that being said, I do think that could change if we do get confirmation that a couple of these Atlanta guys are going to be out in this one. If we get confirmation that Bogdanovich and Hunter are out, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not as if they're like the highest usage guys in the world, but the fact of the matter is when you take two heavy minute guys out of the rotation, typically that will funnel usage to the top usage guy in the team, and that's certainly Trae Young. So I certainly am going to have a lot more interest in Trae Young if both these guys are ruled out. That's just going to be a natural flow, but it's going to be kind of an all-or-nothing thing. Because chances are either Trae Young's going to go off and the game's going to stay close, or Trae Young's not going to go off and they're going to get blown out. That's kind of the two sides of the coin here. So I would be playing my lineups as if Trae Young goes off and this game stays close, or I would be playing my lineups as if this game turns into a blowout and fading. So if you're making multiple lineups, get some Trae Young exposure in some, fade him in the others. If you're just making one lineup, you're probably going to want to pick which one you believe if the game stays close or the game blows out, and form your lineups accordingly. So that'd be my approach there. Yeah, the Portland LA Clippers game, pretty obvious, like I said. I like the CJ McCollum play. I like the Norman Powell play in the mid-range for the Clippers. You have Reggie Jackson, Zubac, and Batum, who all continue to be pretty cheap price too. I said I like Paul George, but when you look at how many minutes these guys have been playing and their price tags, all of these guys are grading out quite well as well. So this last game I think is going to be my favorite on the slate by a pretty wide margin. I think there's going to be quite a bit of guys I'm interested in this game. Even a Luke Kennard at 4-3, I certainly would be willing to play. You could play Terrence Mann at 5-1. Like, all of these guys have a bunch of upside. Terrence Mann, 5-1, looking at how many minutes he's been playing, 30, 34 minutes. He's been putting up, last time out, 36 DraftKings points. Luke Kennard at 4-5. He's been playing like 28 minutes a game. He can shoot the lights out when he gets hot. So, this game has the highest total on the slate. It has the closest spread on the slate. The minutes are pretty solidified. Everything lining up. Outside of the Philly 76ers side, of course, with them being so shorthanded, you're going to have to kind of prioritize them. But this game's definitely my favorite game to be targeting on the slate. Some people like to play the early games because they don't like seeing themselves in dead last to start the night. I can't quite wrap my head around that game theory. I'd rather see myself towards the top of the leaderboards at the end of the night than be seeing myself winning money at the beginning of the night. But some people I don't think have the discipline to think that way. So I certainly never have an issue with loading up on the latest game on the slate. And I won't have an issue doing that tonight. See if you have any more questions here, guys. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying the stream, if you could please take a second to leave a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. Looks like we got about 7 likes. Trying to get 20 plus likes on these streams. I'm going to be giving them as much as possible on the channel. Trying to provide you guys with as much value. Giving you some advice leading up to a lock. If you don't know and you're new to the channel, I do offer premium packages as well over here. It's $19.99 per month. I think you're going to get that value returned to you very, very quickly. If you can't afford that or you're just playing to have fun, I certainly understand. No need to buy it. But if you are getting very serious about NBA DFS and you really want to become a much better DFS player and you're playing every single night, I would highly recommend purchasing that. Because I think you're going to make your $19.99 back very quickly. Probably make it back in the first night. Like I said, if you're just playing for fun, though, no issues with that. I give out free content as much as possible. And I don't want you purchasing it. If you're only playing a couple bucks a night and just having fun, don't purchase it. Because that's not really what it's designed for. More so designed for the people that are really trying to get better and play a bunch. So, but if that's you, I certainly think that would be a wise investment. And ask any questions you guys have. I'll certainly be keeping an eye on the chat. We did a nice little brief overview. We'll be keeping our eyes on the news leading up until lock. It's 7:02. Typically speaking, I don't live stream up until lock, but with this 3-game slate, I think I'm going to stick around a little bit longer than typical. I think I'll stick around until 7:15 or so. I'm probably going to hop off and finish up my projections, answer any questions I have in my Discord chat here. I got to upgrade some projections right now as we speak. There hasn't really been too many changes outside of the fact of the Seth Curry news. So for the time being, I don't think there's going to be too crazy of news. We did get confirmation the Sixers are going to start Maxey, Milton, Korkmaz, Reed, and Drummond. So if you just tuned into the stream, I pulled up their last game. The minutes were very solidified. They were very strict rotation. They went with Danny Green, Andre Drummond, Maxey, Curry, and Korkmaz, all playing around 40 minutes. Really didn't want to go to anyone off the bench, and now there's no Seth Curry. So the minutes should be even more solidified for this rotation. And I'm sure after I update my projections here any second now, I'm going to have even more exposure to the 76er side of things. So, let's see. Larry Nance, 20 plus tonight. Larry Nance, that's one guy I haven't touched on, so I certainly will pull. I don't really know if that's a joke. Like, Larry Nance isn't exactly on the slate, so I'm like, yeah, there's not a Larry Nance, so. And I don't know if you're joking around or if that was an honest mistake, but let's see. Trey so expensive. Yeah, we talked about that. Hey, KJK, sorry, came in late. Quick rundown on value. Yeah, Colin. The top value is going to be on the Philadelphia 76ers side of things. 76ers already had a very thinned out rotation. We just got confirmation that there's no Seth Curry in this game. That's going to open up even more usage. We got confirmation that the Sixers are going to start Maxey, Milton, Korkmaz, Reed, Drummond. So I'm going to love all the 76ers for value. It's just pretty simple. When you take out pretty much every guy that was healthy and giving all the usage, it's going to flow somewhere. Andre Drummond, Maxey, Shake Milton, Korkmaz, Georges Niang, Danny Green. You could certainly be targeting all these guys. You could go to the cheaper guy, Paul Reed, who only played 5 minutes last time out. Now there's no Seth Curry. He's starting. I think he's going to get more of a bump up in minutes. You could also make an argument that possibly the 76ers don't go that route and they decide to spread their minutes thin, do someone else on the bench. I don't know who that's going to be. As far as anything I've seen, I'm actually going to go ahead and pull that up on my side monitor here, see if I've seen anything. Try to help the people out, but I haven't seen anything to kind of give away where the 76ers are going to go. But I think that there's a possibility maybe a Jaden Springer, an Aaron Henry, or a Charles Bassey find their way into the rotation somehow. One of those 3 guys are going to be completely unknown, and if they do, when you play them, there's a good chance you could win all the money going that way. But the solid starters in the Philadelphia rotation are the most obvious value plays on the slate, and we're waiting on the Atlanta news of Bogdanovich and DeAndre Hunter. If one or both of these guys misses, it'll certainly impact the rotation. We're going to get a lot more usage in minutes for Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, Danilo Gallinari. And we're also going to get probably some more Lou Williams usage as well. I'm not seeing him here. Where's Lou Williams priced? He's all the way at $3K. So yeah, Lou Williams might be a sneaky play. His minutes have been very capped, but I mean, if you take out 2 guys that are playing like 30 minutes, I tend to think there's a pretty strong possibility Lou Williams could get up to the mid-20s in minutes. Maybe he doesn't, but on a 3-game slate, it's certainly a risk I'd be willing to take at minimum salary. I don't know what his ownership would be, but that's something that's certainly interesting, and I'll be keeping my eyes on that Atlanta news. All right, I'm going to do a quick projections update here for my premium members over on Patreon. Time My Life says, if I win tonight, I promise to sign up. Yeah, man. I think you'll win. Hopefully you've been listening to the stream, taking this stuff in. If you've been listening closely, you got this. You got this. Listen, play a bunch of the 76ers value because they're short on their rotation players. On the Milwaukee side, try to focus more on the cheaper guys if you think it's going to be a blowout. If you think the game's going to stay tight, you probably want to be playing Giannis Antetokounmpo because he has the highest upside on their side of things. The Atlanta-Utah game, if you think this game stays tight, I have a feeling that it's going to be probably because Trae Young has a pretty big game here, but also certainly have no issues with you going to the cheaper plays if we do get confirmation that some of these Atlanta guys are out. And then I do like the Portland-LA Clippers game the best out of any of the games on the slate just because it has the closest spread, it has the highest total, should play at a fast pace, and there's a bunch of guys that are underpriced. Nicholas Batum, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, all these guys could have a big upside game, and they continue to be priced pretty cheap. And we do have confirmation of Serge Ibaka coming back after last time out playing 8 minutes. Maybe Serge Ibaka gets a few more minutes, and he could be a sneaky play for you in your tournament play lineup. So it's all stuff to think about. And all right, I'm going to make these projection adjustments. Going to be updating my core plays, all that fun stuff over here on Patreon. And I'll kind of keep you guys, I'll give you guys an update here as far as I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more interest in some of these Philadelphia guys. Now that we got confirmation there's no Seth Curry in this one. He's been ruled out. So that's certainly going to give a bit of a bump up to the rotation, you know? Take him out, take all of his minutes out. That means there's going to be some guys that we're liking a little bit more here. All right, so let me know if you have any more questions in the chat. I'll get to them in 1 second. Stay with me here. And if you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button. We got 11 likes, trying to get up to 20, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more content that I upload. All right, DraftKings projections. Do a quick update there with the new minutes. FanDuel. If we have any FanDuel questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. I'll try to answer them real quick before I head out. And any questions on the slate in general? Let's see, minutes. Let's see, questions. Is fading Lillard and Young a good idea? I don't mind fading them. Yeah, I don't mind fading them at all. I'd rather go to a CJ McCollum than a Damian Lillard. Trae Young is kind of a hit or miss play for me if you're just tuning in. So I think that Trae Young either goes off or he just doesn't do anything and Atlanta ends up getting blown out most likely. All right. Doing a quick checkup here on my projections. Let's see what we got here on the Philadelphia side. I just know these guys are going to be popping. It's kind of easy to tell that they're going to be popping in my projections here. Is Giannis a must-play? No, Giannis is not a must-play. Giannis is in play if you think this game stays close. If you think this game blows out, Giannis would be my #1 fade on the slate. So it's really going to come down to that. Honestly, I'd probably be more willing to fade Giannis. Personally, because the Sixers are so shorthanded, I don't think Milwaukee's going to have too tough of a time keeping this game close. Giannis could probably just turn on cruise control, kind of take it easy. We got other guys on the Milwaukee side I'd rather be playing. I'd rather play Bobby Portis. He's cheaper. If the game turns into a blowout or goes sideways, I don't think it affects him nearly as much as Giannis. He's much cheaper. All right, yeah, Paul Reed. I'm going to go ahead and project for the least amount. I have quite a bit of interest in all these Philadelphia guys, though. Maxey, Korkmaz, Milton, all going to be great plays, guys. Norman Powell continues to be underpriced. Yeah, Larry Nance Jr. is on the slate at only 3-1 on DraftKings, so I see that time of my life. I don't know why he's not populating when I search. I don't know if I had something selected. I was a little confused there, too. I was like, why isn't Larry Nance popping up? There he is. I think I had a game selected or something. Yeah, he's only 3-1. He's been playing like 17, 18 minutes, so he could certainly be a decent tournament play for you. I do think there's probably going to be some better options that we have. Possibly, though, I will say. In that price range, if we do get some confirmation on some injuries. All right, guys, we got about 4 minutes left on the live stream. If you're interested in my premium content, you can go ahead and sign up. You get my core plays, my projections. I'm about to upload those right now for all of my premium members over there, so certainly join today. If you're tuning into the live stream and you're enjoying it, hit that like button. There's 17 people in here, only 11 likes. Completely unacceptable. Completely and utterly unacceptable. That should be saying 17 on the dot. Is Giannis a must-play? Who would you play over Giannis for the money? I would play Paul George over Giannis. I'd play Paul George over Giannis. There's no Kawhi Leonard. He's going to continue to see a bunch of usage until Kawhi Leonard gets back. So I certainly have interest in Mr. Paul George tonight. And yeah. Let's see. Fading Lillard Young in DK. Giannis or PG for cash? For cash on DK, Colin. That's a tougher question for cash. I would still go Paul George. I just think the game, I think it's just a much further guarantee that this game stays close. That's a tough question, but it's only a 3-game slate, so yeah, I'll take a stand on going with Paul George. All right, guys, I'm going to be hanging around for about 3 more minutes. Then I'm going to be updating my Final Core plays over here on Patreon. Let me know if you have any more questions. Kind of got to get into this over here. So I'll keep an eye on the chat. And if you have any more questions, please leave them. I'll be hanging out for about 2 or 3 more minutes. And I will certainly answer any and all questions that you have. Doesn't look like there's anything too much. Great content. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The Claw 28 says, no problem, man. No problem. Best of luck tonight. So yeah. All right, guys, that's all for me. Last call on the questions. If you have any questions, urgent questions, please ask them. I will answer it before I head out. I'm going to give you about 60 seconds. If you do have any pressing questions, please ask. If not, that's cool. We'll wrap things up here. Do my Final Core plays over here on Patreon. Ask any or answer any questions in the Discord chat. And I will also be building my own lineups. Lastly. All right. Looks like that's it. Thanks as always, man. Drew says, favorite Trailblazers play. My favorite Trailblazer, I don't know which website you're playing on, so that would help my answer for you. But I'm going to assume you're playing on DraftKings for the sake of answering your question. And my favorite Portland play, probably has to be CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum and Norman Powell are graded out very, very close in my projections. But CJ McCollum just has a high ceiling, so I have to go with him. He's putting up 1.14 DK points per minute. I like CJ McCollum quite a bit. And he says FanDuel. FanDuel. FanDuel, Yusuf Nurkic is priced pretty cheap over there. He's only 6'9". I talked about probably not playing Nurkic too much because he's not playing that many minutes. But the fact of the matter is, over here on FanDuel, where he's only priced at 6'9", he could be a pretty good play for you. And you get the 3 points for the blocks and steals. He's priced at a much friendlier price tag over here. I like Yusuf Nurkic quite a bit on FanDuel in particular. Would rather play Clint Capella probably, but and then Damian Lillard continues to be pretty underpriced over there on FanDuel as well. All right, guys, that's all for me. I got to go. I got to lock in my projections. I got to answer my Patreons in the Discord chat. Make sure that they're getting the answers they need before I lock. Hopefully, you enjoyed the live stream. If you did, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on the live stream. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. You can check out my premium package if you're interested. Wish you guys all the best of luck. I got to go, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.